Start.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Around the Wicket. And I'm just going to cut straight to the point here. We're going to recap the league stage of IPL 2022. It's been a very good year, except for CSK. So let's start with them. Um, Vivian, obviously, you're the CSK fan. Who are
Yeah.
the new CSK players? Because we saw them try out some players. Who are some of the new players that impressed you?
Oh man. Yeah. CSK had an absolute howler of a season. Overall, I would say the players who impressed. I mean, Moin towards the back end, he had like a couple of good innings. But overall, we obviously saw in the last few games we saw Padiranna, and he bowled fairly, like, basically the bowlers that they brought in towards the end were quite good. Padiranna. We even saw Simarjeet Singh, who bowled well in the last few games for CSK, which was really good. He was one of their only consistent bowlers in the game against MI. So we saw that, and we saw Solanki, who played well in the last game against RR. So yeah, I mean, a few good players towards the end, but overall, all of them were most of them were pretty bad. Most of them didn't perform well. Dhoni performed well at the beginning of the season, but not enough to make it, count.
Yeah, I mean, I myself I liked what I saw from Jagadish. Obviously, we've seen him before, but what interested me was that they used him in the middle order. I think he's best suited to open, and I mean, he can't open in this team, but
Yeah, he
I
was
think if
he
they,
he's more suited for like what Gaikwad is doing, right? Like that's what
yeah,
he
yeah,
did
but if
initially.
I think they'll try him in the middle order in the future, but I
Hmm.
don't think that'll work. I
Yeah.
still think Raidu is much better than Jagadish. So, Om, what are your thoughts on some of the new people from CSK that we saw?
We're talking about the new people from CSK. It also resonates with a lot of what CSK is built off, right? So CSK is built off this thing where the top three, if they don't score runs, CSK is out. You beat them. We saw that last year. We've seen that before. It's a big reason why they failed in 2020 as well. Robin Uthappa has given them a couple of games, nothing more than that. Same with Rutraj Gaikwad. Devon Conway played a few and showed consistency, but he's not played enough games to give them those starts. So once they have not gotten the starts, their entire plan fails, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at CSK historically, they've not been a side of big name bowlers. By big name bowlers, I mean someone like a Jasprit Bumrah, like a Rashid Khan. When Dhoni used to operate, he used to operate with Harbhajan Chawla, Jadeja, all Moin Ali, all these guys, and he used to rotate them. And it was a captaincy with the board decision that took them through. And this time with Jadeja as captain, he was just not ready. Um, in search for Jadeja, the captain, we've lost Jadeja, the player. And the same can be said for uh, some players from the other team. We'll come to that later. But just because of of this defect in the CSK lineup, their entire campaign has fallen apart. And I think it started with Jadeja being captain. Last year, a lot of the runs that they got were from Jadeja and the top order. Both of those went away. Deepak Chahar went away. Mukesh Chaudhary has been perfect for them. I think he should play next year. So has Simarjeet. But other than that, they need to revamp the entire squad. Drop Ambati Raidu.
Yeah, and you mentioned this, and I just want to touch on this finally. Dhoni announced that he is coming back as captain. So I think that's probably a good move since they don't have an established captaincy choice in their squad. And the only real ones I can think of that will enter the auction next year are overseas candidates, and I don't see CSK doing that. Vivin, what are your thoughts on Dhoni returning to captain Chennai one more time?
I didn't expect that. I thought the reason he gave Jaddu captain was so that he could sort of phase out his influence, playing one season to sort of guide the players but not be the explicit captain, and maybe pass it on completely to Jaddu next year. But maybe because he had to take back captaincy, he decided, let's give it one more year. And maybe that's why he'll take captaincy next year. But I do think it'll be helpful to CSK if Dhoni stays in the team for 1 year without being the captain. So maybe the year after next, if he's up for it, make someone else captain. It can be anyone. Maybe Rutraj will be more experienced. He may have a few India series under his belt in a couple of years. So maybe that will be the man that CSK is sort of grooming for that role.
Yeah, what do you make of that?
I think he's going to take up captaincy next year, drop it halfway, give it to Jadeja, and they're going to give Jadeja another shot. If that doesn't work out, then well, they have no choice but to look overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see that happening at all. I think there was a fallout between Jadeja and management. He even left the season early, even when he didn't have to. It was only a minor injury. Um, I see no way that Jadeja is getting captaincy back. I do think MS will captain the full season, but and like to be fair, I won't even be surprised if Jadeja doesn't come back to CSK next year. I mean, I expect him to come back, but I think there's a possibility he might not, and I won't be surprised. So I mean, when we talk about losers this season, you can't separate CSK from Mumbai,
Yep.
and that is what they are losers. I think they've lost like 10 games this season, both of them. So that's an L for Mumbai and Chennai fans. Um, Throughout the back half of the tournament, you could see that they're clearly building from the future. And as we saw in the last game, Brevis is back. David is pretty good. We saw Tristan Stubbs play a game, and Markande played well for the first time in like a bajillion years. So they're clearly looking for the future. What do you make of how the future lineup is shaping up to be?
Talking about Markande, after his stellar year at Mumbai, he's just not been given enough chances wherever he goes. I think he's a fabulous bowler, and if he's given a longer run, he can do great damage. I'm glad that he's back. Talking about Tim David, absolutely no reason to drop him after his first two games on Indian soil. Terrible move from the Mumbai management. Talking about Devil Brevis, well, the thing that pains me the most is that he's playing for Mumbai, not RCB. But that's all well and good. I think he's a shining star for the future, and I think he's going to do for South Africa a bit of what AB did when AB left his legacy there. Um, Talking about the younger recruits in Tilak Verma, he had a fabulous season. He's again one for the future. He's um, he's what Surya Kumar was back in the day when Mumbai got him. Um, the thing that let them down this season wasn't their batting. I think they always had batting potential. Sure, their batting did blow out a couple of times, but the main letdown for me was their bowling. Sam's just had one good game and 10 bad games, and then one good game again, and then like bad games again. Apart from that, Bumrah, bad. Last three games good. So with bowling performances like that, it's not a surprise that you lose the IPL. We've seen it with RCB for decades, or like for like what 13 years. If you don't have a good bowling, you don't qualify. Apart from that, we've seen it from the Sunrisers Hyderabad. If you have a good bowling, you qualify, right? When they had Rashid, Bhuvaneshwar, all those guys, but only three good batsmen, they still qualified. Your bowling is something like an utmost priority, and Mumbai didn't prioritize that this season. Hopefully, they will next season. Hopefully, they get good recruits in. Um, Arch obviously is coming back. Many overseas options exist, even young Indian talents. So I hope they exploit that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and yeah, Vivin, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, the Mumbai bowling, they had, as you said, Sam's only had a couple of good games. That one game against Gujarat Titans, obviously, where he bowled in the death, brilliant stuff. Tymal Mills came in for a few games. He bowled okay. He got like 3 wickets in one game, but he was not enough to sort of pull the Mumbai Indians bowling away from the hell that it was. And I mean, if you don't have a performing Bumrah, which is obviously what Mumbai's bowling is very reliant on, then yeah, they're not gonna have a season. And I like the last game because they played Brevis and David, which was awesome because early on they obviously dropped David, and I sort of understood it in the sense that they wanted to bring dual Brevis in, and he played well for a couple of the first two games, and then they dropped him again. So I'm not really sure what they were going for that. I don't know if they thought that David and Brevis would be like immediate slam dunks. You obviously have to give them time in India, so it's good that they played them both, and hopefully they continue.
Yeah, going back to what you said, Vivin, like you're talking about Bumrah, and like if he doesn't perform, Mumbai doesn't play well. One stat that I recently noticed was every time Bumrah has bowled 2 overs in the power play, Mumbai has won the match. Obviously, he's one of the best bowlers in the world, and I feel that Rohit Sharma and Mumbai Indians, even for the past few years, they've been using him very defensively. One in the power play, one in the middle, two at the death. And I think that was feasible when you had Trent Bolt bowling up top. But with this bowling attack, I think Bumrah is too good not to be used, and they had to use him more attackingly. And on a similar note, you're talking about Dual Brevis. They also mismanaged Sky a bit. I think his best position is number 3. And we saw once Brevis was dropped and Sky moved to 3, he played brilliantly. But to accommodate Brevis, who's just a kid, they moved their best batsman, Sky Suryakumar Yadav, to the middle order. And I don't think that worked. So I think it's good to keep an eye on the future. But like, it's also important to remember that you have a few of the best players in the world in your team right now, and you need to use them to the max of their potential. So that's it for Mumbai. Since we're going this way, we'll just talk about points table in the reverse order, and that brings us to Sunrisers Hyderabad. Now they've had a tricky season. Started off with 2 losses, then 5 wins, then 5 losses, and then a win and a loss, I think. So it's been a season of ups and downs for them. And there's just one main thing I want to talk about, because Abhishek was good, Garg was good, Tripathi was excellent. He should get an India call-up. But do you think Williamson should be released? Now I want you to answer 2 questions, both of you. Do you think he should be released, and do you think he will be released?
No and no. I don't think he should be released, first of all, because he had a really bad season, as we talked about, as we made a shot about, the worst season in IPL history for a batsman. But just as a captain and a player, he's not someone that you want to lose. I'd say give him another season. Maybe don't play him at 3. Maybe don't have as much faith in him at, like, maybe give him a couple more games at 3 and then push him down to maybe 5 or 7 or anything else. But I think you should give him a little more faith than after one bad season. We'll see what he can do next season. And I think they will not release him. What I just said, they shouldn't, but they also will not, because I think they understand. They put a lot of faith into him this season. I think they understand the value of Williamson, even though he didn't perform well as a captain and as a batsman potentially, even though he didn't show it this season. So yeah, no, I don't think they will. I don't think they should.
All teams need to take a different approach to the players that are going to retain and release this year, especially overseas players, because in the auction you have Ben Stokes coming in. So is Williamson going to do a better job for you than Ben Stokes? My answer for that is no. But then again, what if you don't get Ben Stokes? What do you do? Right? So do you think do I think will they release him? I say no. Do I think should they release him? I say yes, because Sunrisers, I think, is a potential team who can buy Stokes, and if he opens with Abhishek Sharma, he can provide the bowling overs as well. Instead of Markram bowling, you can have Stokes bowling. And just moving on from the Williamson questions, if that's answered, talking about SRH as a whole, at the start of the season, I said SRH is a wild card team, and that's exactly what they've turned out to be. When your wild cards have performed and have given you the color that you wanted, they've done well. Your wild cards being someone like a Markram, someone like a Tripathi, someone like an Abhishek Sharma.
Nicholas
when they've got the big boost. Yeah, Nicholas Puran as well. But Nicholas Puran, again, he's a shining star that shines once in like 5-6 games, which is not enough for them. He's giving West Indies what West Indies need, but he can't replicate what he's giving West Indies in the IPL. And that's the saddest part, because he's a great talent. Aiden Markram for me has been really good for them. But again, these are all wild cards, right? When I look down a team, I look down and see how many match winners do they have. Sunrisers Hyderabad, how many match winners do they have? Kane Williamson, Rahul Tripathi. Then for me, I face a big hole in the middle until I reach their bowling, where I can see Bhuvaneshwar and Natarajan acting as match winners. And that's the reason that they've lost to me. They've had talent, they've had wildcard players, but they've not had banks.
Yeah, and obviously I've talked about overseas captains and how I don't like them, but emptying out Williamson also leaves you with like 14 crore, which is a lot of money. They can easily buy an overseas player for cheaper than that, and possibly even look to fill in some holes in their team, such as like they don't have a good wrist spinner. Someone like Adam Zampa might be a good buy for them. or Tabraiz Shamsi or Adil Rashid, top overseas spinners to at least sort of replace the void that Rashid Khan left. But obviously, you can't fully replace Rashid Khan. There's no player like him. Yeah, so that's SRH. Next on the team which I support, Kolkata Knight Riders. So I'm just going to list down a few points for me personally. So Rinku Singh has been a positive. Narayan has been a positive. Last 2 seasons, he's been very economical. Um, and in the last game against LSG, we saw some of his talent with the bat also. Andre Russell, probably like the MVP this season. He's been brilliant with the bat and ball. 300 plus runs, 350 runs at a strike rate of above 180 and 17 wickets. I think his strike rate is the lowest strike rate with minimum 20 overs bowled in the IPL ever as a bowler. So that's brilliant. Nitesh Rana, while I am still critical of buying him at 8.5 crore, he's had an above average season and pretty good season, I would say. So he's been a plus, I would say. But otherwise, still a pretty shit team. As I said in my post auction thoughts, everything which I said has turned out to be real. They have no death bowlers. The second season blues for Venki turned up, and that left us handicapped in batting more than we already were. Since, as I also mentioned, we have no players who can play pace, as clearly seen by the carnage that Avesh Bumrah and Umran Malik bestowed upon us in their few games with us. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm disappointed in KKR's auction strategies, and I hope we release a lot of players, free up a lot of purse, so we can actually have a good team.
Adding on to the Venki point, I think the problem with Venki, they mismanaged his position. Obviously, we've talked about this multiple times. Yeah, he obviously wasn't playing to the caliber he did last season, but they also played him at 6 for most of the season, which is just, they shouldn't have done that. They tried Jinx opening, which we talked about earlier. They didn't have their batting order wasn't settled, and they played their best opener of the last season. The reason they retained him, they only played him in that position for like a few games this season. So that was a overall negative on KKR's part. So again, the West Indians carried them this season, as you mentioned.
I'm going to keep on bringing up the concept of banks in the player review, because when you have banks, you have guaranteed runs that you're going to get. If you have KL playing in your team, you know you're going to get a 550 run season from him. And KKR this time just had no banks. Like Andre Russell's always going to be a bank, but Andre Russell's batting at 6. How many runs do you want him to hit? He can't give you a 500 plus run season at 6, right? So they've lost their banks, and they should have done that in the retentions. The retentions were quite poor. 2 players who have done well for 1 season, they've retained them. Both of them have failed consistently in Chakravarti and Venkatesh Iyer. Shreyas Iyer, who you would call a bank, has been robbed and has no runs left in him. I don't know if it's the moving to a new environment. Is it what changed? He was batting so well, but he's just gone completely down. And another thing about KKR is the bowling unit. If you take someone like Shivam Mavi, if you see where some of his counterparts are in Abhishek Sharma, in Prithvi Shaw, in Shubman Gill, these are all the players that played with him at the World Cup, and he was India's premier pacer.
Along with Nagarkoti.
Yeah, along with Nagarkoti. And it is only the 2 of them out of that batch. If I take the premium players out of that batch and I give it to you, it is only the 2 of them who have not, who don't have a fixed side in their respective teams, right? The good batch includes all these players that I mentioned, right? Shaw, Gill, highest scorers. Abhishek Sharma, highest wicket taker, I think. Nagarkoti, Mavi were the premium pacers, according to me. So that's poor from them. I expect more consistency from Mavi. I also think they should have played Saudi and Cummins together. That was a mistake on their part. But one of the biggest defect of all in the entire side, it's the fact that they didn't have a keeper.
I mean, they had Sheldon Jackson.
Yeah, but
That's
they
not-
played Sheldon Jackson out of position. He's
Exactly.
an
They
opener.
played him at like 7 and stuff, which is
They don't have a keeper. I was going to say, you can take 10 people randomly from domestic sides, put them in your team, and say that they're keepers. But that's not the job of a keeper anymore. A keeper isn't meant to bat at 7, give you barely any runs.
he
And
doesn't
just
like they misplayed him, but he's definitely a fairly solid keeper if they would have played him right in it.
They missed who?
Like they misplayed Sheldon Jackson. They played him out of position, as Rayan said.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that a keeper in the olden days was defined as someone who bats at 7, doesn't give you too many runs, just keeps wickets for you. And KK have taken that definition a bit too literally because they haven't gone for a keeper who can give you runs, or who has proven to give you runs. Neither of their 3 keepers are proven to score runs at this stage, at this level. Granted, they played Sheldon Jackson out of position. Sam Billings wasn't that good. Baba Indrajit, first time, not doing too well. So you need someone like Ishan Kishan, Dinesh Karthik, Sanju Samson, Rishabh Pant, people who will give you runs, and they didn't have that, and that's another flaw in their lineup.
Yeah. Like I felt Sheldon Jackson was like he didn't live up to his potential. I think sorry, not Sheldon Jackson, Sam Billings. He's a very good player. I've seen him play in a lot of T20 leagues and even for England. But I think he had some valuable contributions, but just not enough. I want to again. This was Brendan McCullum's last season as coach, and I think the way they played in the last match against Lucknow was a good farewell to him. Personally, thought it was the best match of the season. So yeah, that's it for my team, the Kolkata Knight Riders. Now let's move to Viven's team, Punjab Kings. Now Viven,
My new
Punjab
team.
has had they've had a disappointing season. I think they underperformed. They could have done better. Um, do you think obviously Shah Rukh Khan came back last game, and I think definitely he'll be in the plans for their future. But personally, I don't see the top order of Mayank, Dhawan, and Bairstow being sustainable. I think they all are best as an opener, and I think even moving one of them out of position just messes the whole thing up. You're not using your talent to full ability. So I want to ask you the question that similarly I asked with Williamson. Do you think one of them will be released, and do you think one of them should be released?
Yeah, that's like the biggest problem, I would say. They have 3 openers, but the thing is, out of them, 2 are performing pretty well. Bairstow has been performing well when he came in. Obviously, he didn't play for the whole season. He came in, he played really well. And you've had Shikhar Dhawan, who's performed fairly consistently this season, getting them some good runs. The only player who didn't perform at the top, really, was Mayank Agarwal. And the thing is, you've made him your captain, so you're not going to release him. So I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to make him captain and release him. But that gives you a hard position. It's a really unfortunate thing because the only non-performing opener, the one who would be worst opening out of the 3 based on performances right now is the one you've put the most faith in with the captaincy role. So I don't think they'll release something. I think they'll release anyone. I don't think they should. I think they'll continue to play one of them out of position. I think they'll probably try to play Mayank in the middle order more and keep Bairstow and Dhawan opening because that's worked so far. And their batting has been like fairly good, right? In their last match, their batting was quite solid. You obviously have Bairstow and Livingston. Bairstow and Dhawan at the top, and then you have Livingston to come in and absolutely wreak havoc. So the only problem is Mayank right now because you put too much faith in him and he's not performing, so you have to play him out of position. So, yeah, it's tough, but I wouldn't think they're gonna release anyone. It wouldn't make any sense to just keep playing Mayank or someone out of position.
I agree with Vivian on this, and because not to waste time, I'm just going to move on. So I think Punjab Kings had a good season. I know they haven't qualified and they're nowhere near the top 4, but to me, they've had a good season because they've picked up youngsters. They've got Ashdeep playing an entire season, performing the entire season. They've got Jitesh Sharma. They've got Bhanuka Rajapaksa. They've got Shah Rukh Khan too. They've got Liam Livingston. They've got Vaibhav Arora. They've got a good side according to me. And I think next year they can be a championship running side. For me, the most underrated player of this IPL was Shikhar Dhawan. I don't think his runs gained enough attention because of what Liam Livingstone was doing at the other end, or what Bhanukar Rajapaksa was doing. Dhawan is again one of those players you call a bank, and he's been really good. Johnny Bairstow, he wasn't there at the start, but he came back towards the end. He faced a few games where he didn't get form, and that let them down, and that led to losses. But when Bairstow was in form, Punjab was winning. We saw the last game against Sunrisers Hyderabad. That was a good bowling lineup, and they absolutely sent them. Um, Other than that, Mayank, it's again, you went to look for the captain in Mayank, and you lost the batsman in it. So that's another thing that they need to wonder about. A lot of people, a lot of captains across the IPL, all the with 10 teams, you have 10 captains, right? And the people who have been put new into captaincy have just lost their mojo. Ravindra Jadeja, Rishabh Pant, Mayank Agarwal, all these three have had poor seasons because not main, I would actually say because of their boosted captaincy role. Other than that, Punjab have a really good side. I think they can go for it next year. Rahul Chahar needs to boost up their performances. And the important thing is, India is a country of spinners. You can just kick Rahul Chahar out, get someone as good as him. Someone will make a difference to you. So I think good season for Punjab. And I think hats off to Anil Kumble for making this side what it is, because in the last two seasons they were completely they were like a disheveled team, right? Because they couldn't do anything. They had only Mayank, KL, and then they had a big black hole in the middle, right? So Kumble has finally delivered on what he promised to do. And dropping Mayank as captain, my suggestion is do it. Just remove him from captaincy,
Yeah.
make Dhawan captain, make Rabada captain. I don't care who you want to make captain, just don't make Mayank captain.
Yeah, and on
No,
that. Okay,
it's
yeah, go ahead.
not about his bad captaincy skills. He's been a fabulous captain, but just that's affected his batting. I think his bowling changes were wonderful.
Yeah, one thing
Yeah.
I was gonna say about.
Om,
Yeah,
why
go
are you
ahead.
suddenly flipping for Anil Kumble? You've been pretty vocal against him
This
on the
entire
show.
season. Yeah, did something
Yeah,
happen in
Yeah,
like yeah?
so
Did something happen like more
no,
recently on a
nothing happened.
personal note?
It's not like that. It's a pretty simple explanation, right? If you see his debacle versus Kohli in 2017, if you see the last two seasons in Punjab's auctions, they've been absolutely terrible, right? It's been some of the it's a terrible job done. But if you see this season, I actually believe he's done a good job because of the results you've gotten, the auction planning there is, right? And how you've used your players.
So
If there's one complaint I have against the Punjab management, that complaint is they dropped Odion Smith too late. That's the only complaint
too
I
late,
have.
yeah.
And
yeah.
if
To
that's
be
the
fair,
So this
after
is
the
so this has nothing to do with I don't someone joining.
shut up. Okay. Um.
Okay,
Okay.
keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. But to be fair, yeah, you and I agree with Om. This season, Kumble and the whole SRH, I mean Punjab management and team did a good job in assembling their team. I think they did a pretty solid job, and you can't even blame most of the problems on Anil Kumble this time. I think it's mainly been underperformance by the team. But a good bright spot for them was Liam Livingston. I mean, for like a year, a lot of people on social media said he couldn't do it in the IPL, but he's done it in the IPL. He's been arguably one of the MVP contenders.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, okay, we can finish off with Punjab.
Okay, yeah. So moving on from Punjab, we'll move to Delhi Capitals, who I think will be very disappointed with their season. I think they had a good team, and I think they had the players to reach in the top four. Yet they didn't. If you actually look at their team record this season, it's been win, loss, loss, win, loss, win, loss until the end, where in the end they won uh, two wins in a row and then lost once. So I think it's been up and down literally for Delhi, and I think it's it's they're going to feel disappointed, especially with Shaw having a good season. Unfortunately, they missed him towards the end. Warner having a good season, Marsh coming through, Khalil having a good season, Kuldeep taking wickets, and even Pant, he didn't have the runs, but his strike rate was high up there, and he's been the best player against spin this season in the middle overs and overall. So I think they'll be very disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, Delhi after the Aussies came into the picture, obviously Warner and Marsh, they look like a force to be reckoned with. They look like an absolutely incredible team. I thought they were definitely a championship contender, but then they were sort of ravaged by things like COVID, things that are sort of out of their control. Obviously, Mitchell Marsh having COVID, which is quite unfortunate because a DC, a performing Warner with their team being much more consistent, it would have been incredible. They should have definitely beaten Mumbai, that Tim David edge and things. We'll get to that maybe when we talk more about RCB. But overall, yeah, I think they'd definitely be disappointed with their season because they 100% had the potential and they missed it out.
Delhi Capitals is the best side of this IPL. I'll write that on paper and I'll give it to you. Rishabh Pant has had a terrible season, both decision making wise and batting wise. You don't need a 180 strike rate and a 30-run innings from your number 4 batsman, especially when 90% of the time, one out of your top 3 is failing, like 0 runs. Because that's what Mandeep Singh and KS Bharat and all those players were giving you at the top, right? So Rishabh Pant had a shit season according to me. They need Rishabh Pant to play the way someone else like someone else like a Shreyas Iyer was doing or something like that, and then you need someone else to finish games off. So I don't think Rishabh Pant had a good season at all. He might have hit 350 runs. He might have given you a 180 strike rate. He might have played spin really well. All that doesn't matter if you hit 30 runs when your team needs you to hit 50 or plus. He's not had a single 50 this season batting at number 4. Not a single one. And let's be real, that number 4 spot, it was basically a number 3 spot because when Shaw and Warner weren't playing, one of the openers failed at 0. Okay? So you need him much more. And with a player like Rishabh Pant, you would expect him to get at least 2 to 3 80 to 90 run games across the entire season. That's not come. That's let them down. They've also been let down by Akshar Patel and Shardul Thakur. Huge expectations on them. Shardul Thakur has had 3 good games, rest terrible games. He's not finished games off for them. Akshar Patel has not bowled well. Akshar Patel has done so well across the last few seasons. He's not come good this time. But apart from all that, let's talk about the positives. David Warner, the man, the myth, the legend. He's played like 10 games. He has the most runs of all Delhi batsmen. Mitchell Marsh was coming good towards the end of the season. Rahman Powell did a decent job. Kuldeep Yadav, my man. His speeds are back up. His speeds are not back up to. His speeds have increased by like around 7-8 kilometers per hour, which is making him a deadlier bowler. Because he's deceiving people in the air at a much faster rate and he's getting the wickets. The Kuldeep of old is back but improved. Khalil, good job. Sakaria, good job. Enrique Nortia, another shit show. So it's been that kind of a season with the injuries. I think next season they should play in the playoff in the finals. I'll call it right now. Delhi Capitals will play in the finals of next season IPL.
Vivian, what are your thoughts on Delhi's season?
Yeah, I already gave my thoughts, man. I think we can move on to the next team.
Okay, so I'm gonna assume if you're calling Delhi Capitals one of the teams to reach the final next season, I'm assuming the other one's gonna be RCB. So
Yeah,
let's
talk
just
about them.
let's talk about RCB. We'll hand it to you for this segment.
All right. Faf du Plessis has been Faf has been bad according to me. Kohli has been bad. Who batted at 3 before? I forgot the man's name, bro.
Patidar, Rawat.
No, before Patidar.
No, Kohli batted at 3.
And Anuj Rawat was opening. Yeah, Anuj Rawat did bad. Everyone else, except Siraj and Akashdeep, has done exceptionally well. So Glenn Maxwell is doing exactly what we need him to. Mahifal Lomra is doing exactly what we need him to. So is Dinesh Karthik, so is Shabazz Ahmed. All these four, they're giving you the cameos. And the thing is, Glenn Maxwell can play an innings that Rishabh Pant is playing. Glenn Maxwell doesn't need to hit more than 30 from 10 because he has Mahifal Lomra, Shabazz Ahmed, Dinesh Karthik to come through. Rajat Parida has been playing absolute gem at 3. He's hit 180 runs in 6 games, and that's been absolutely wonderful for us. Shabazz and Dinesh Karthik, we've not needed them to bat too much in the back end of the tournament, but when we need them to come good, they've come good. A thing that's changed about RCB this time is you have 4 all-rounders, okay? And we used to never see this, right? You always had 3 prolific batsmen, and then Chahal, and then absolute nothingness in the middle. But this time you have 4 all-rounders who are bowling and batting well. Other than Vanindu, he's not batting well, I think. Maxwell, he's been absolutely beautiful in the power play. Shabazz Ahmed, his bowling's been mid, but his batting's been really good, and he's a gem on the field. Harshal Patel, he's hit some boundaries when we needed them, and well, there was never any doubt of his bowling. Hasaranga, Rehan, you said there's no one like Rashid Khan. I think one player that RCB hoped might live up to the legacy of Rashid Khan would be Vanindu Hasaranga, and I think it's his first IPL. I think in a few seasons he can be that player, that bowler that RCB need him to be. Hazelwood.
Meanwhile, Rashid, who's actually younger than Hasaranga.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's an interesting fact.
Yeah, bro. Rehan always comes out whenever I'm
Yeah.
even with that Natarajan thing. He always comes out with
See,
things I don't know.
Players peak at different ages, so that's not really concerned. Being a spin bowler, I don't have injury concerns. Like I don't have concerns for his injury or whatever. But I think he can do what Rashid has done.
16, and we are 16.
Huh? What?
Rashid is 16, and we're 16. Safe. We're totally succeeding at life, like Rashid did.
Yeah.
At 16.
For real, we're riding. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So RCB will they win this year? Probably not. But let's hope. Only one team has won from the 3rd or 4th position, and that's the Sunrisers Hyderabad. Who
The final against RCB.
Yeah, against RCB. Ben Cutting is an absolute idiot. Anyway, moving on from that, I think they have a good chance because I was talking about match winners before, and according to me, no team has more match winners than RCB. Faf, Kohli, Maxwell, Karthik, Siraj technically, but even if you don't take him, Hazelwood, Hasaranga, Harshal, you have 7 guaranteed match winners in that team, and who can turn the match on its head any day of the week. Kohli's getting back into form. Faf has good games here and there. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
you talk about RCB having match winners. If they actually played him, I would add another name to that list. Akashdeep. Hashtag bring back Akashdeep. You know how it goes.
yeah.
But another thing I want to point out, I'll make it quick. In the last game, Kohli hit runs. Biased commentators, they know nothing. Maxwell should have won man of the match, and I should have gotten my fantasy points for it. And I want to ask Om a question. So they played Sid Kaul last game. Dropped Siraj. Do you think they'll go with Sid Kaul, Siraj, Akashdeep, or maybe someone who we haven't seen yet?
Right. There's those 3 bowlers. Let's just take those 3 bowlers: Akashdeep, Siraj, Sid Kaul, and then let's take a juicy green Kolkata wicket. Who do you want bowling on that wicket? Do you want someone like a Sid Kaul who takes space of the ball, who bowls his cutters, who bowls his knuckleballs? Or do you want someone like a Siraj who's fiery, who bowls 145, who can swing the ball both ways? Or do you want someone like Akashdeep?
Yeah. Akashdeep. I'll still go for him. You gotta back him, dude.
I don't even have words to describe Akashdeep because he has an economy of 25 or something like that. He's basically a leak that you can't fix. So Siraj for me is the best choice. If Siraj can swing the ball like he does on the green tracks, juicy tracks of Kolkata, KL Rahul's first ball gone, Quinton de Kock first ball gone. That's my this thing. And with Dekok and Rahul gone, LSG have no team. We'll get to that later.
One more thing I want to say before we move on from RCB is I feel like while they still have potential, one of their in the last like couple of games, Hazelwood has been he's been good. Obviously, he's been good the whole season, but he's been fairly expensive at the death, particularly against Punjab and Livingston. Obviously, he got utterly walloped. He gave the most runs for any player this season and the most in RCB's history. But also in the last game, while his stats are fairly decent, he only gave 39 runs in 4 overs. In the last over, he did bowl pretty bad lengths and lines, and he got walloped. So if there's any concern, it may be that RCB's premier bowler Hazelwood, he hasn't been able to sort of contain the runs at the death, and he's been completely leaking runs, as you say, for Akash Deep.
Okay, but I look at Gujarat Titans finishing with Miller, Pandya, Tewatia, whatever, and then I look at Lucknow's finishing with Stoinis. I think Hazelwood will do well. So anyway, moving on Lucknow.
GT's finishing is like the
let's
best
move on to
finishing.
Lucknow.
Okay, yeah.
Let's move on
Okay.
to Lucknow.
Yeah,
And
let's move on to
before
Lucknow.
we talk about the season overall, I just want us to give some context on their last match against KKR. Quinton de Kock scored 140, brilliant knock, 200 strike rate, perfectly paced innings, dominated the power play, played out the spinners, rotated very well, and then went ballistic at the end. And then there was KL Rahul with a strike rate of like 28 or something. But good stuff from de Kock.
See, de Kock has always been that player, and he has the potential to do so. Third highest score in the history of IPL. I think this was coming for a long time, and like you
third
said,
half
right?
score only after ex-KKR player Brendan McCullum and ex-KKR player Chris Gale.
You can also say only after ex-RCB player Brendan McCullum and ex-RCB player Chris Gale. So anyway, moving on. Yeah, it was coming for a long time. KL Rahul, he wasn't good, and one positive that you can take away from that KL Rahul innings is that he didn't look too much in touch with his self, who scored 200s in the past season. He looked a bit off color. So we hope he continues that form into the game against RCB in a couple of days' time. It's all in the hope. Getting real other than that, Quinton de Kock and KL Rahul have done most of the run scoring for the Lucknow Supergiants. And whenever de Kock and Rahul both fail, Lucknow Supergiants lose. Sure, Hooda has been good and all, but it's been KL Rahul, de Kock all the way. And if we get 2 out of those top 3 out early, LSG is finished. They've not used Stoinis well. They've not used Krunal Pandya well. They've not used Aish Badoni too well. They've not used Jason Holder well. So LSG, good side, terrible captaincy, good youngsters. Mohsin Khan's been an absolute beast. Avesh Khan's been good. Jason Holder, I do not get the logic of not bowling Jason Holder minimum 3 to 4 overs per game. He is such a good bowler, right? He did so well for Sunrisers bowling last year. He's done so well for Lucknow Supergiants. No logic of not bowling him his overs. Bishna is coming good towards the back of the season. Krishna Gautam, I don't know why they didn't play him more, especially when the pitches were slowing down. So, amazing team, amazing players, terrible captaincy. Gonna lose tomorrow. No, wait, day after tomorrow.
Yeah,
No, wait,
Devin, I want to
tomorrow.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
O mentioned the youngsters, and one youngster who we all were really impressed with at the start of the season was Ayush Badoni.
Exactly.
And then they suddenly dropped him at the last game of the league stage against
Yeah.
KKR. Right after the match where they played him at number 3 out of position. So what do you make of that? And do you think he will play the playoffs, and do you think he should?
I think he definitely should play the playoffs. I feel like his role was sort of in the first few games, it was sort of shaped, or not in the first few games. It sort of moved around. In the first game, we saw a much more slow innings. I think it was like 50 of say 40, 35, 40 balls. And in the second game, he obviously came in as a hitter to beat CSK. I remember that game. So yeah, he definitely has been lacking in the later end of the season. I still don't think that's grounds for dropping him. I think you give him faith. In a game where LSG maybe has a collapse, he may come in handy. So I think they will play him for the playoffs. I hope they play him for the playoffs. And I don't actually mind experimenting with this position, just not this late in the season. They should have done it earlier, like playing him at 3, playing him at 4, playing him at 5, because he's clearly a pretty dynamic batsman. He's done all sorts of innings early on when he was playing better. But at this point, I think stick to where he's been able to win you games, which was the first few games of the season, which is coming in late and just finishing the game when it's say 25 of 10, 25 of 12, those sort of situations you're chasing.
Yeah, and just to wrap up on Lucknow, just some words on that Evan Lewis catch.
See, the catch is so good that it left me wordless. Like speechless would be the better word. But yeah, I think the catch was an absolute fluke. But what a catch it was to see. I think it changed the game completely. If he dropped that, KKR win the game. He caught that, Lucknow won the game. Didn't make much of a difference, but a couple of words I will give the catch is aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, very good catch. Lost us the game, something I'm not too happy about, but well played, Rinku. Anyway, we'll move on to number 2 on the points table right now. The Rajasthan Royals. Now,
Let's go.
I have a prediction on the Rajasthan Royals.
Okay.
I predict that Yashasvi Jaiswal will fail
Wow.
in the qualifier game.
Oh, you're so bold.
What are your thoughts on that
Oh,
prediction?
fantastic.
Wow. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, good. I was thinking of backing him with a 3.5 X booster. So hopefully I don't do that now. I'll take your word for it.
Yep.
Yeah, so they are
It's 3x, you idiot. You can't do math or what?
whatever. Yeah, okay. So what do you make of their season? Butler had a roaring first half.
Yeah.
Second half, he's died off a little. Sanju's been solid throughout. Not that high, but not too low also. And obviously they've had Ravi Chandran Ashwin, the
Yes.
all-rounder for them this season, which we've not seen really in T20 cricket.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome. This may make them lose the tournament, as I've seen with my luck this season, but I'm backing RR to go all the way. Initially, CSK got knocked out. Then I supported Punjab, and they went probably the day after I avowed my support for Punjab. They sort of dipped from the tournament, so that was a bit of an L. But yeah, 100%. I'm backing RR. Obviously, Gujarat Titans has had a much better season. Gujarat Titans at top of the table, but I really like RR because I like their middle order. Obviously, Padikkal at 4, he's been playing a few good games, but that's out of place for him. He's meant to be opening, but you can't really blame them because they brought in Jaiswal, and Jaiswal has done really well. According to Om, that's all going to stop in Q1. Bold prediction on his part. But we'll see. We will see how that turns out. And then Ashwin, of course, as you said, he's had like 3 good innings now, and not too slow as well. Like he's had pretty quick, like fairly. I wouldn't say fast, but he's had good innings for RR in the middle, which I didn't expect at all. I thought when they put him at 3, they're sort of. I wasn't sure what they were trying when they played him early in the first time they did it. I think he failed. But yeah, they've stuck with it the last few games. Absolutely great stuff from Ashwin, and then you obviously line out the tail with like Hetmeyer. So I really like their batting. If Butler fires, there's nothing you can do to stop him.
So Butler up and down season, Samson good season. So a lot of them have had good seasons, but I think the captaincy has been quite good. The moves to put Ashwin at 3, the moves to, play Devdutt Padikkal where he's playing, the moves to send Riyan Parag up, whatever he's done. Sanju Samson, a lot of things he's touched have turned to gold. Prasid Krishna has had a good season. Might not be among a lot of wickets, but I think Prasid Krishna has bowled the most dot balls in this season. Most or second most. He's up there. I think
most is actually KKR lad Sunil Narayan out here.
Okay. Then second most, something like that. He's bowled a lot of dot balls this season. He's bowled quite the many maiden overs too. So I think there's a good bowler in Prasid Krishna. There's a good bowler all around. Yuzvendra Chahal, my love. He's had his best season this time around. Um, Huge mistake by RCB to drop him, but it's always Wanindu or Chahal. I don't see how Chahal fits into the current RCB side. So if we went with Wanindu, we went with Wanindu, and Wanindu has done a good enough job. So one thing that Rajasthan Royals need is a number 7. I think they can search that at next year's auction, but championship winning side, according to me, no. Just because of Butler is not performing well at all. Finalists, maybe, but championship winning side, no.
Yeah, and you're talking about like how Sanju Samson impressed you as captain, and he's impressed me a lot too. And like KL Rahul just got named the captain. Um, yeah, he just got named the captain of India in the South Africa season. Rishabh Pant as vice captain. But out of the new captains, I actually feel Sanju Samson and another person have been the best, and that other person is Hardik Pandya. So let's move on to Gujarat Titans, who ended the season at the top of the table. What do you make of their season? First year in the IPL. I know you guys didn't back them at the start. I did. Obviously, I'm right. And I just want to hear you guys talk about this, because what happened was exactly how I expected it to happen. Exactly.
No, okay. I yes, we did doubt GT much more than you did, but I don't think anybody. I don't even think the owner of the Gujarat Titans hoped for the season that they had. They did absolutely brilliantly. Our disdain for the Gujarat Titans strategy and stuff was based on their seemingly terrible middle order backing Hardik Pandya, who was like in terrible form. And then obviously Miller, Tewatia had played like 2 good games in 2 seasons of the IPL, and Miller, okay, fair enough. And yeah, their middle order has been incredible. Miller, Tewatia, and Rashid are like the most feared, finishers in the IPL right now. I didn't think I would say that, but I've said it a few weeks ago, and I'm saying it here again. They've done an incredible job. They've won GT numerous matches, like I would say 4 to 5 matches. They've sealed for GT, so that's fantastic on their part. And then bowling wise, they had like Lockie Ferguson, who was pretty good. Second fastest bowler after Maiji Umran Malik. So there's that. And overall, yeah, I would say they had a pretty good season. I still don't think they have what it takes to win. I don't know why. I don't think they'll go all the way this season. Although indicators have shown so far that they have a fairly good side. If the middle order performs, they're definitely sorted. And chasing, they're a different beast. GT chasing is a force to be reckoned with, no matter how high the score. So yeah.
Yeah, no shame in admitting I was completely wrong. I was right about some things like Vijay Shankar being an absolute shit show.
That's not a hard
But
prediction, man. Come on.
yeah, other than that, their bowling, never doubted their bowling, just their batting. I think Alzari Joseph has been fantastic. I don't think he should have been dropped today against the Rajasthan Royals, but I think he's been bowling well. Yes, they are good. Sai Kishore on the turning tracks, he's been good today. I don't know how good he will be. I don't expect him to be too good. Rashid Khan, amazing. Shami, as usual, getting the ball to seam, perfect seam position. He's doing a fabulous job out there for the Gujarat Titans. The batting has surprised me, but Shubman Gill needs to be more consistent. So does Hardik Pandya. Um, but I think the thing that I didn't expect was Tewatia and Miller to have such good seasons. And I think it's because Tewatia and Miller have had such good seasons that Gujarat have won half their games. Because if I take someone like the game against RCB, if Tewatia wasn't there, they lose that, right? And the game at Tewatia hit 2 6s. So in last 2 balls.
The
So
audience went.
Miller and Tewatia have been a lucky charm. And championship winning side, no.
Yeah, of course, because RCB exists. But yeah, I just want to point out, give a little shout out to Rashid Khan with the bat, who's been fantastic. Also batting at number 7, which I thought was a spot too high for him. But he's been doing well, and yeah, Miller's not even got out in a single digit score yet. So it's been fantastic for GT. everything's clicking in place. That players are performing good. So as a GT fan myself, I hope they do well. Yeah, Vivin, you told me that you wanted to say something.
Yes, I did. I did, in fact, tell you that. And what I wanted to say was I just wanted to talk a bit more about what an absolute horror show this year has been for CSK. First of all, we got after like a terrible start because, okay, we lost to KKR, who we beat last year. That was already a red flag, considering that KKR's team was also pretty bad, as you've heard in Rehan's multiple rants. But okay, fair play. We lost the first game last season as well to I believe it was, or maybe I'm completely wrong. But CSK loses first game. Okay, fair enough. Then we lost like 2 games in the first 5, which were like 100% winnable. First of all, it was that game where Mukesh Chowdhury and Shivam Dubey. I know Mukesh Chowdhury has been a gem for us ever since, but I cannot forgive him for that. That's why he's on my bowlers of shame list. But that was an absolute horror show. Shivam Dubey was giving the most easy balls possible. He was absolutely on the stumps, as overpitched, as juicy as can be, and just waiting to see what could happen. What kind of a strategy is that? He didn't even try to bowl. He didn't even like try to go for the wide line. He didn't try anything new. It looked like he was at a bowl out, for God's sake. Okay, that was abolished long ago. Please stop doing that. And then we obviously had Mukesh Chowdhury, who couldn't bowl on the stump to save his life. Man bowled like 2 short balls outside of leg, which got banished, and rightfully so. So that was an awful start. And since then things have been going downhill. We had a couple of wins here and there, but that was pretty bad. Gaikwad didn't perform for the entire season, which is that's nice, until like the last 3 games when CSK was on. Gaikwad didn't perform until CSK had to win like every single game, which is just really nice. Same with Conway, but that's not really his fault. We dropped him after like the first. We dropped him so goddamn early, and then he comes back. He goes to New Zealand. He comes back, and it turns out that he's an absolute beast. Who would have thought that if you give him more than like 2.5 games, then he'll actually be worth something. It's not like he's proven himself multiple times in T20 cricket or anything, which is why we bought him in the first place, not just to sort of ditch him on the road. What else? Shivam Dubey, I don't know how he performed with the bat. Man doesn't move his legs, and everyone knows it. But fair enough. He hit that 95, or 99 or 95. That one match, and as Om said, CSK's whole thing has been 1 or 2 players playing and covering up for everyone else's mistakes. Every game is just like a one performance wonder. The only chance we got was with Gaikwad and Conway playing well, and that ended pretty quick after like 3 games from Conway. And as you know, CSK is over reliant on someone. That person fails, we're completely dead. So we died there. Ambati Raidu was an absolute failure. He had like 1 good innings this year, which is just that's nice. As Om said, he should be released, but he did take that 1 good catch, so that's good. But apart from that, he was an absolute failure. Okay, MS Dhoni, I'll give him credit because he was working with a pretty bad team. Okay, first of all, why did we give captaincy to Jaddu? Okay, I understand that CSK needed to give it to someone, and that Jaddu was the first, like the only person that sort of made sense, but it was just the most silly move because he wasn't even the captain, bro. Man is out in the outfield, obviously, because he's like our best fielder. He's the only one who can catch. Not to mention he stopped being able to catch in the last few games. He dropped like dollies. But either way, he's like the only person in our team who can field. He's in the outfield. He's not talking to the bowlers. How can he? He's so far away. And he's somehow expected to like manage the entire team. Like, what was the strategy going into that? And then then Dhoni takes it back in the middle of the season. CSK starts to win again. Like that whole debacle was a debacle. And then obviously Jaddu goes home. So then our only chance at like late batting, which we needed at some games, was some late batting, someone to hold down the fort. It's gone because Ravindra Jadeja is out of the team. Some fallout with the management, maybe, as Rehan said. Moeen Ali was good at like in 1 game. Moeen Ali played 1 good game, that 95, which is fantastic innings. But okay, this is my question. How can someone score 95 of 57, an absolutely incredible innings? He hit 50 of 19, and then we go on to score 150. We hit the same amount of runs in the first 6 overs than we hit in the like next 14 overs. It just shows that you have no support. You have one player, everyone else slacks off. Okay, nobody was there to support Moeen Ali. Nobody else was there to give him any amount of support, to run hard, to go hard, to try to do anything. Moeen Ali carried hard, and as soon as Moeen Ali trailed off even slightly, 95-57, the rest of the team did utter nonsense. So that was fun to watch. And then you had Dwayne Bravo, who also barely performed, but he bowled well with the he played well with the ball in the beginning and the middle of the season. So yeah, I mean it's a shame when you have to say that the best bowler of your or that your favorite bowler from the season was favorite bowlers were Mukesh Chowdhury and Simarjeet Singh. That's not a great sign for your team. What was our bowling? It was like extremely inexperienced. We didn't even have Deepak Chahar, who we spent like goddamn 14 crore on, which itself was just an abhorrent move. We go to 6.5 or like 7 for Faf and ditch him, and then we go to double of that for Deepak Chahar, who doesn't play. That's very nice. And so, I mean, given all of that, CSK deserved to lose. CSK was an utterly useless team. CSK played utterly useless, and yeah, they deserved it. I shifted over to Punjab, and Punjab gets knocked out the very next day. It's absolute hell. Now all I can hope is that Rajasthan.
Yeah, and as you
wins it.
mentioned, CSK's last game, horrible stuff. It was a fitting way to end their horrible season, and it also seems like the fitting time to end this round of yours. So let's move on to our
Once again,
performer.
so I'll do. Wait. So once again, let's do the awards of the season.
Om
Okay?
wants to do it so he can
Um,
say his first so they don't get stolen.
Yeah, sure. Okay, but okay. So who is your performer of the week?
Oh,
Okay, so I'll start first.
of the week
Hey,
or
what
of the
about-
let's do of the group stages, because there's a group stage review.
No. We'll do the week. But since I want to start first, I will start first for the specific reason that you guys will steal my player. So my performer of the week has been Virat Kohli. Now you can go on.
Oh yeah, Rinku Singh, OP, Lord Rinku supremacy. That's all I have to say.
For me, I have to give it to my boy Simarjeet Singh from CSK. Man, pulled it back. He was bowling great lines against Mumbai Indians, and I have to give it to a local boy. I have to give him some credit. This is the only credit I'm giving
All right.
CSK.
Next,
He's
performance
actually
of the
from
week. So, performance of the week, I'm going to go first. I think this man really showed his class. He showed his guile. He came in under pressure and he just turned the game on its head. He single-handedly won the game for his side. His impact was unmatched. He was so good that he hit 0 runs from 0 balls and didn't bowl a single over. Evan Lewis is my performance of the week for his performance against the Kolkata Knight Riders.
Fair enough. My performance of the week is the performance that's made Om a
Okay,
happy
mine is
boy.
Glenn Maxwell. He
Oh,
should have
okay.
got the man of the match.
Fair enough.
He should have got the man of the match instead of Kohli. Quick runs, important wickets, couple of really good slip catch. Still mad that they robbed me of the fantasy points. I'm sure it was a very okay. I won't name any names, but I'm pretty sure I know who gave that man of the match award. And let's just say I don't really value their points on T20 cricket.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for letting me speak, Rehan. Mine is another person who's made Om happy, who's Tim David, for his outstanding contribution against DC. He should have been out a long time ago, and so I guess part of that goes to the DC to DC for not taking a review, for the umpire for not giving it out. But I'll still give it to Tim David for that 34 of 11. That was a blistering innings.
Okay, that's it for our league stage recap. Guys, thanks for watching. Subscribe and like. Make sure to check us out on all the video platforms and podcast platforms. And by video platforms, I just mean YouTube.
Yeah.
We have some exciting content coming up. Duel of the Fates and IPL pre-finals debate. We obviously have our finals review, our playoffs recap, and the end of the season awards, which I'm sure you'll all be looking really forward to. That's it for today, guys. Bye.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you've watched the entire thing, go see a therapist or something. I don't know why you do this to yourself. And bye.